Hello there, peoples. Welcome back to 614 Punch, the show about the fighting game community in Columbus. I'm Felicia, aka Kako Princess, and I host the show with my friend Travis, aka Perfidious Sin. This is episode 5, our favorite fighting game songs, part 2. This episode features the return of Tony, aka TKShadowblade, and Prince, aka Wombstone, as we talk about some of our other favorite songs from fighting games. So if you haven't already, be sure to hook up your headphones and set up your speakers, because your ears are once again going to be super comboed by some rad jams. Alright everybody, just for context, when we were recording, at one point Discord's voice servers crashed and it completely cut off the show just as Prince was starting to share some of his music, so he didn't get to share his awesome stuff. So here we are a couple days later, and hopefully things work the way they should.
Oh god, yeah, I agree. I was so distraught.
I'll bet.
Oh, it showed.
All right. So how about, Prince, why'd you go ahead and we're gonna act as if Prince and I didn't get to share our song, so we're just gonna start with him. So what is the first song that you were gonna share with us?
So the first one I was going to share was going to be the CPS1 version of Ryu's theme from Street Fighter 2. We had previously actually introduced this song right after Tony had introduced Ryu's theme from Street Fighter Alpha 3. And we were talking about how the percussion was so intense. There's these constant drum rolls happening, the big synths and everything. And then immediately after that, I follow up with Ryu's theme from Street Fighter 2, which has similar qualities, but it's actually on the same it's on older hardware, and it sounds a lot punchier and wilder. Yeah.
Alrighty. So let's play it and see what the audience thinks.
Okay.
Okay, seriously though, do we need to listen to it again before we share our thoughts?
You might as well. It's like 2 minutes.
All right, we'll do that. I'll cut this little bit out, but yeah, everybody play the track and we'll go from there.
All right.
Gotcha.
Let's go.
Hit it.
All
Go for
right,
it.
so we went and listened to Ryu's CPS1 theme. CPS1 stands for Capcom Play System, I believe. Uh, yeah, it should be Capcom Play System. So yeah, I really like this theme a lot. The two most prominent things about this theme are the soaring synths that play once the song gets started, and the heavy kick drum, which features prominently all throughout the track and has really satisfying fills like right before the refrain. That's like the biggest one. It sounds different from In the Air Tonight, but it evokes the same feeling, just a huge drum fill right before the refrain. Um, but yeah, I love it a lot. I feel like with a lot of this Street Fighter music, it was Street Fighter 2 came out at the beginning of the 90s. So, the cultural conventions of the 80s, like the music and everything were still fresh in everyone's mind. And when I listen to Street Fighter 2's theme, this theme probably more than anyone else besides Camby's CPS2 theme, I get the feeling that someone takes like 80s synth pop or 80s like workout music and adds like a serious Japanese edge to it.
I
I
guess
like
that's
it a
an
lot.
interesting way to put it.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
I
Yeah.
wouldn't.
absolutely love those the kick drums. Like I want to put that in my home speaker with the subwoofer and just like hear how hard those hit because that just like those kick drums are incredible. They're so powerful.
Yeah.
I bet if you played this theme at a party, everyone would go fucking nuts.
Oh yeah, they would go
Especially
crazy.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, because the bass is insane.
Yeah.
And the synths they're electronic and everyone loves electronic music. All our hip hop is electronically produced, most of it. So it's just like I think that would kill at a party. It would absolutely destroy on some really good speakers too.
Yeah, I wouldn't say the track's really punchy. I would say it has more crunch to it, if you know what I mean, with like the lo-fi electronic sounds. But that's still a quality I think some people really like with that kind of music.
Right. Let's punch more crunch. I feel
Yeah,
it.
Yeah,
yeah.
I think as far as like the other instruments, I think that definitely describes it. But those kick drums are on another level. They're doing something different. They're incredibly intense.
I don't think anything will ever be intense as modern NetherRealm Studios bass, though. I have a feeling if I play Mortal Kombat 11 through that big speaker I bring to Donato's every Tuesday, we'd
Yeah.
probably be felt on the Richter scale.
Wait, NetherRealm games have music?
and not just percussion.
I guess I
I
mean
can't say I've ever heard it.
I mean, I guess more the sound effects, but like especially the punches, the kicks, or like an Injustice 2 when there's a transition blow. You hear that boom.
Oh yeah, the sound effects are huge. They just don't have any music in the game.
Yeah, they hit pretty hard.
Yeah, NetherRealm games really were never known for music, at least as far as I know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, the music always takes a backseat to the sound effects of the actual fight, and I think they do that on purpose because they want you to feel the hits, every single last one of them.
Yeah, and they also want you to hear the voice acting and the quippy one-liners that the fighters shoot after every round.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, no, not since Yu Suzuki and the Virtua Fighter team has there been better one-liners, but NetherRealm really got that.
Oh my god, yeah.
Okay, back to music. What's the other? We'll talk about fun one-liners at another show or something. But all right, Prince, what's your other track you have for us?
So my other track that I have is, let's see, I'll go ahead and post it in the chat here. It is Bloody from KOF 98, King of Fighters 1998.
Okay.
Oh yeah, so like the story with this was I was originally going to bring in Ryu's CPS1 theme. It was the first thing that came to mind. It's probably my favorite fighting game track ever. And then I was going to do Nile, which is Gil's theme. I like that a lot because like Gil's Street Fighter 3 theme is great. It's intense. I should like it a lot more, but I like how light and airy Nile is. But ultimately I was just like, I don't want to have two things from the same series. So I chose something that I already love, but is also like underrepresented anyway. And
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, exactly. That's Bloody. I love that. So let's go ahead and listen to this, and you guys tell me what you think, and I'll tell you what I think.
All right, let's hit it.
right, there we have it. We just listened to Bloody from KOF 98.
Not to be confused with Bloody Tears from Castlevania.
Also a fantastic track. Also fantastic. So this track is really interesting to me because the instruments sound very real, especially the cymbals. Like the drums sound very realistic. I love the bass line that's running through this. There's a really, really funky Ween style bass line, like just circulating through the entire song.
Oh, the groove is heavy with this. I loved it.
It's such a groovy song. I think my favorite part of this song is actually the refrain, which is a really long refrain. I think it's like 40 seconds or something like that. And what I love about it is that it just sounds like utter despair. It sounds like evil triumph. Like it sounds like if you've ever watched a show like Dragon Ball Z, like when Frieza's just beating the hell out of Vegeta and Goku, or something like the Teen Titans, where like I think his name's Brother Blood is like literally ripping Cyborg apart. It just sounds like the kind of music that will play when the bad guys have the upper hand, and this is actually a bad guys theme. These three, the new face team, they're all infected with the Orochi virus gene, whatever it's. I can't remember what it is, but it's in KOF storyline. They're very evil.
The blood of the riot, right?
Yeah,
Or the riot
exactly.
blood.
Sounds about right.
It's the same thing that I think it stems from the character Orochi.
Mm-hmm.
And I really appreciate this theme because it's like a groovy rock theme at first, some great guitar, and then it's just this really anime heavy despair, just this really anime heavy despair theme going on in the track's refrain that is infectious to me. It always stood out to me, and it's weird that I don't see this track talked about more.
Because King of Fighters is an extremely underrated series.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like
For
only
sure.
the most. If you're outside of like the three countries where it's huge are China, Mexico, and Japan, and outside of that, and nobody really seems to think about it. It was always in Street Fighter's shadow here in the States. But if you go to Japan, it's huge.
Yeah.
If you go to
It's
Mexico,
big in South America, too.
Yeah, it's big in Brazil. Really big in Brazil, and it's also
Uh-huh.
got a decent Korean following. Decent.
Yeah.
King of Fighters was like it was an actual game. It was a main game at Evo Japan, and as you know, it hasn't been in our Evo in America in a couple of years, but they're still playing it heavily enough to feature it at the biggest tournament of the year in Japan.
One of my
Yeah.
favorite convention memories is Combo Breaker last year. I was hanging in the casuals room, and then a Mexican guy comes up to me. He's like, "Hey, you want to play King of Fighters and drink some beers?" And I was like, "Okay." And I ended up playing KOF 97 and 98 with them.
Sounds like an
And a
awesome
couple
guy.
Nice.
Had a couple hard lemonades. Then I bumped into the same guy at Frosty Faustings a little while later. He's like, "Oh, hey Felicia. Hey, we're hosting a KOF 98 side tournament. You want to play?" And I did, but I was free as air. Holy crap.
Dude, that
Which is not difficult to be in any KOF game, but I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
those
you're
games
not
are hard.
it's such a hard game. It's like if you know the game, then you know that like if anyone you're playing knows just a little bit less than you, it's a free match.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, although 98 is pretty decently balanced. I feel like in the newer games, there's a lot that you can do with the meter, and if there is even a little bit of a skill gap, then you're absolutely cooked in these newer games.
Uh-huh.
KOF music is like so it's so great, but what really stuck out to me is like a lot of older games like that from like the 80s and 90s.
Yeah,
They don't have a very long. It's not a very long time until the song loops. Like it's usually like 30 or 40 seconds max. This song was going on for like a minute and a half before I noticed it was looping. So it's like for a song that's like from the late 90s to be like this long and intricate is like really, really impressive. Like
All the
KOF
variations of
Yeah.
Team Yori's
Top
theme
tier.
are like that too. Like
Yeah.
ever since the first game, every single Arashi no saxophone, it takes at least about 2 to 3 minutes before you hit a loop.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
awesome.
The syncopated beat was also interesting. It felt really weird at first, but that's the kind of beat I wish there was more of in fighting games. The fact that it's steady, but not like so steady you could walk to it, I think is great for fighting games because you're kind of stuck in one place.
yeah, exactly. It's something like that. You really don't hear that a lot in games. Period. I think that something that's comparable is like the very beginning of the fourth part of Dancing Mad from Final Fantasy VI. It has this tribal beat with this rolling bass line. It's real nice.
We need more of the Nyalan's funk in video games, basically. That's what we need.
Hey, I'm all for it.
I'm not familiar with that. Nyalan's funk.
Nolans.
Nyalan's is
man.
like a slang way of saying New Orleans
Oh no.
with a really thick Southern accent.
I thought you were talking about like a series of games. Like I
No.
you know how fat girls say nya? I thought you were saying nya. I think we need the Nyalan's funkin'.
Whoops.
Yeah, and I also thought you said funkin', so I was thinking it was something like poppin' music.
No. No, man.
I was
What?
very off.
Well, to be fair, I mean, I'm sure my hearing is the worst out of everybody's here because I played drums for years with no hearing protection. So,
Oh
that
yeah,
idea.
I played a lot of drums a long time ago, and then in 2016 for 10 months I played drums regularly. But we had earplugs like very early in the year.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah,
Alrighty.
those tracks are amazing, man.
Mm-hmm.
The rhythm sections are incredibly impressive, and the refrains are highly memorable.
Alrighty. So it's now my turn. My first track. So I'll admit I originally was going to do Jazzy New York City 99 as one of my tracks, but when we, had to take a break because of the problems we had, I was like, we've already had a lot of Capcom love, so I felt like I needed to do something different. So my first track is, let me make sure it actually loads. Okay, this first one is Stand Unrivaled from Blaze Blue Central Fiction.
Ooh,
Interesting.
It's the theme of Jubei. The quick thing, I used to play Blaze Blue a lot. It was the first fighting game I played competitively. Now I don't really like the series anymore, and one of the reasons is, as awesome as a composer as Daisuke Ishiwatari is, I feel like some of the Blaze Blue music is really weak. Like, it's just not the best, and I guess I'll describe it more. It'll be easier to make my points after we hear the track, but I think this is the best thing to come out of Blaze Blue.
I agree. I definitely think, as a longtime Guilty Gear fan,
Yeah.
I agree that Blaze Blue's soundtrack is weaker. Although the first iteration of Blaze Blue had some good themes, and I really love both versions of what is that? The sword theme? It's Mu 12's theme. I love both versions of that. But yeah, I definitely agree that Blaze Blue is weaker. But yeah, we can get to the
Yeah, all right, so Stand Unrivaled. Here we go. That's probably the longest track that's been shared so far, definitely.
I believe so. Yeah, I was waiting for
Yeah.
it to loop, but I think this is past the era of like we ran out of memory, so we have to loop the song. Like we'll just have a full song in the end.
Yeah.
Guilty Gear did that a lot as well too. Like the original Guilty Gear tracks and Guilty Gear X2, they never really looped.
Now, does this song play like during? Is this like fight music while you're playing during a match?
Yeah, this is Jubei's theme. You can have this play during a match.
Gotcha. Yeah, because you would never hear this entire thing during a traditional Blaze Blue match.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I guess people don't like this track. So I guess to explain
I
what
like
was
it a
talking-
lot.
Yeah,
I like it
guess
too.
I guess to explain what I was talking about earlier, I think it's partially due to being autistic and not liking a lot of high frequencies, but also being quite the audiophile. Blaze Blue's soundtrack wore on me really quickly because it feels like the mixes was never really that good. Like it felt like everything was cranked up to 11 rather than being properly balanced, and each guitar track felt like it was always trying to have a lead rather than a melody. So they'd be
Mhm.
like, feels like sometimes during battles, it felt like it would be kind of stabbing you in the head, making it hard to focus on a fight, or it'd be hard to stomach after a while. So what I like about Stand Unrivaled is, yes, it's still got the guitars, but they take more of a back seat. They aren't as in your face, and they bring in, I don't know the exact names of the instruments, but those Japanese instruments like that wind one and the strings
That's a
give it
shamisen.
a shamisen.
Yeah, like the stringed one.
Yeah. I love those kinds of sounds. They add a different flavor that really helps make it feel like a unique track. It also sounds very epic because for those that don't play Blaze Blue, Jubei is basically like the Blaze Blue equivalent of Yoda. So having a track that sounds that epic totally fits. And when I would play training mode in this game to get all my combos down and whatnot, this was always the track I played because there really wasn't any other one I liked looping over and over again. But even if it weren't for that, this is still my favorite track out of the series, period.
Yeah, it's really good. I honestly really like it a lot. I didn't expect to like it as much as I did, but I do. Uh, I think my favorite parts are just it starts out like really hard and epic and everything, but I feel like the refrain almost sounds kind of like the Japanese equivalent of like a southern jam refrain. It sounds very like fun and freewheeling. And I also really like the at the bridge, the two solos. There's a shamisen solo and a guitar
Yeah, that
solo.
was my favorite part.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in the middle, that's pretty darn awesome.
Yeah, I really love those solos. I love how it almost kind of sounds like the theme of like it sounds like as fun and free spirited as Tao Kaka's theme, I think, in parts at
Okay.
that point, and then the guitar starts and it kind of mimics the melody of the solo at first, and then it goes off on its own thing. And I just really liked how they did that. Like they start out with the shamisen and then do a lot of the same solo as a guitar, and then it just branches into its own thing. It's a really impressive track.
So I'm not a I have no like musical talent or musical background, but I did really love playing Rock Band back in the day.
Yeah.
And I would love to play this on guitar in Rock Band. This would be so much fun. Like
Yeah.
those guitar solos and stuff are just like great. That'll be a
Yeah.
really fun track to play.
You know, it's kind of funny that you brought up the Tao Kaka reference because, once again, for those that haven't played Blaze Blue, Tao is essentially a clone of Jubei, but not
Oh, that's why
really.
she's a cat. Oh man,
I
it's
didn't
all
know
coming
that.
together.
Yeah, they were basically scientists were trying to recreate Jubei since he was one of the people that exterminated the Great Beast.
Dang.
So I think the idea saying that it's kind of like Tao Kaka's theme in some parts, but then others is more heavy, kind of makes sense, especially if you compare him to, you know, Tao, who's a clone of him, and then Ragna, who he eventually trains to fight with the Blood Edge, the sword.
I bet you they composed a song on like that on purpose to have like references to Tao Kaka's theme.
It would make sense, even though tonally Tao Kaka's song sounds nothing like that.
Right.
That's probably my second favorite track of the series. Tony, stop being so loud. I can barely hear myself think.
You guys are doing so well. I'd hate to interrupt.
No, seriously, do you have any thoughts or feelings?
Well, I'm not really that well versed in the Blaze Blue universe. A little bit. I've dipped my toes in, so I know a little bit about a little bit. But if we're talking about the theme overall,
Yeah.
I like how it's not as heavy. It's more so, like you guys said, kind of reserved. It pulls back a little bit on the heavy guitar parts just to just to it kind of reflects Jubei's character, where he doesn't need to go all in. He does what he needs to.
Yeah, that's what I really appreciate about it. I feel like a lot of soundtracks and fighting games try too hard to just be in your face all the time. So having a more relaxed track like that, I think works wonderfully.
I mean, depending on the game, it does make sense. Like in some instances, it's funny we're talking about this because every time I think about like Arc games, I go back to Xrd as far as themes are concerned. If you know Soul Bad Guy's theme in Xrd and Sign and Rev, the first thing it does, it hits you straight out of the gate, and you can almost picture him just kicking down a door and walking in the room and just saying, "Everybody, come at me right now." So
I could definitely see Soul doing that.
Yeah. So depending on the game, it fits. In this game, this theme it fits. It works. So
Yeah.
All right. So funny how we're still speaking about Arxis because my other track is actually from Xrd.
Oh,
the theme.
Oh yeah, I know this one.
Yes,
The opening.
This is the track. Yep,
Ooh.
Heavy Day. This is the main theme of the first version of Xrd, Guilty Gear Xrd Sign. It also happens to be the track that plays when you do insta-kills. Which, before we move on, something I didn't realize about Isha Watari until I did a little research so I knew about him. Did you know he was born in South Africa?
Really?
Wow.
I
Yes.
did not know.
So he's half African, half Japanese.
Whoa. That blows my mind.
I know, right? But anyways, why don't we rock on to this one?
All right.
All over it.
Hit it.
time. Nobody doubted he is true of purpose. Oh yeah, not knowing we had given up everything we had lived. All of the options, the next drop here in this dead and back to back. That's down the running on a midnight train. Back to back. Conscience is swimming to the end. Back to back. Blade is already on a juggler vein. Back to back. Each time we're never let a chance to stand. Give me a break, you're down. Just wanna get back to that again. Lazy down. What a heavy day.
Tell me that doesn't instantly make you want to play Guilty Gear.
Oh, it does.
I'm not smart enough to play Guilty Gear, but I appreciate it from afar.
I ain't either.
Oh yeah, it makes me want to do some Sidewinder loops, which aren't actually an Exard, but you know, I like playing plus R and Exard.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely a lot of air guitaring over here for sure.
Lots of
It's
air
so
drumming
good.
for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for those who haven't played Guilty Gear, the insta kills I was talking about, it's a unique feature that started with Guilty Gear X, the second game in the series. Imagine if you could do a fatality, but it's stylized rather than gory, and as long as you have meter, you could do it at any part of the match. Now, granted, if you do it incorrectly, you don't get super meter for the rest of the entire game, but so imagine that playing when you just obliterate somebody in a creative way. It's really awesome.
Yeah, honestly,
I mean, have you ever seen like compilation videos of all the different ways people finish off each other in Guilty Gear? It's awesome.
Mhm.
oh, you're talking to a guy that has been comboed into instant kills in X2 and Exard by really good friends. Like, yeah, like these dudes knew these games in and out, and like they would just put them in combos, and it's like a lot of that is just getting a stun, but they would put you in a combo, and I got to hear Heavy Day. I got to hear the Heavy Day instrumental at least anytime
Yeah.
I played them. But
So-
yeah, this. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No, you were talking first. You go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna go ahead and go over the track. I really love Heavy Day too. When Exard was first announced and the trailer had Heavy Day in it, I couldn't contain myself. I was thinking about the trailer for weeks. I couldn't wait to play the game. And yeah, it's just a really great rock song. If you ever looked at the Guilty Gear 2 tracks, you'll know that there were these like secret vocal versions of every X2 track there is.
That's true.
They're
Mhm.
very, very funny. Some of them are actually really good, but a lot of them just like, I think they were actually done by like musicians from like New York and LA that like flew in and recorded with Ishiwatari.
The vocal for Anji's theme is one that sticks out for me. I loved it. It was just great.
That one's really good. I like that one, and I also like Venom's theme. But yeah, like this is like head and shoulders above any of them for me. It's great. There's some English that's kind of like hard. It's kind of hard to hear some of the lyrics, but the vocals are so good that I don't really care. I already listen to a lot of Japanese music, so it's just an extra great instrument to me. And yeah, this track is awesome. I was surprised you picked this. I'm glad you did. It's really good.
Yeah, I think my favorite thing about Guilty Gear's music, I think part of it is the production. I feel like the elements are always better balanced. Like it doesn't feel like they just cranked everything up to 11. Like some tracks are a little bit more out there in the mix, some are a little farther back. So it ends up sounding a little bit better, a little fuller. So everything kind of feels like it has a place. That's one of the things about it. But also it doesn't sound like somebody's trying to solo when it's not their turn in a song. Like, have you ever seen like a bad jazz combo or just like a bad band in general where like somebody's just trying to solo in every song even when they really shouldn't be, and it like kind of ruins the track? That's what Blaze Blue sounds like to me, like 80 to 90% of the time. But in Guilty Gear, it feels like everything's more balanced, so the guitars work a lot better, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that they're also real instruments in Guilty Gear X2. I could be wrong about that, but the production is great, not just because of how everything is balanced, but the textures of the sounds are incredibly
yeah.
impressive.
Mm-hmm.
I see that it doesn't sound as synthesized like in a lot of Blaze Blue tracks, especially starting with Calamity Trigger. You can tell there's a huge difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is another track that I love playing in training mode when I practice combos or just in matches in general.
Mhm.
Playing this, and then I forget the name of the track that was in the Rev 2 trailer, but that was another one I really liked.
Yeah, Rev 2. I can't remember. That might have been Baikin's theme.
Yeah, but I really want to. Now I had actually registered for XR at Combo Breaker like months ago, but I haven't touched the game since Frosty Faustings. I might have to get on that for hearing this track again because I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my goodness, I forgot how awesome this game is.
Uh-huh.
Everyone that still plays that game is going to be an absolute monster. I would definitely recommend hopping on that as soon as possible.
I'm really going more for the fun. I mean, Tekken's going to be my main focus at CB.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if there's one thing I could say about Guilty Gear is it's probably the one super stylized fighting game out there that doesn't get too lost in its style. I mean, I still say without a doubt in my mind that Street Fighter 3 Third Strike is the perfect balance of style and substance, but Guilty Gear feels like it's got like a really distinctive feel to it, very over the top, very much the definition of anime, but it feels like it never indulges in itself too much, which once again I think Blaze Blue tended to do a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Guilty Gear, everything has its place. It just looks damn good in the process.
And then there's no weird like romances and whatnot in Blaze Blue. Like we're gonna have an episode of the show dedicated entirely to ridiculous fighting.
Just how much I was just gonna say, have an episode about how much we all don't like Blaze Blue.
Talking about like the ridiculous fighting game stories and whatnot. Yeah, I guess any other thoughts on that track?
I just like just the whole vibe of Guilty Gear is heavy metal. Like not just the music, but the aesthetic and just like all the characters. It just even the characters that are named after metal musicians. Like it's just like if you love metal music, you love Guilty Gear, and just like even if somebody who's not really into gaming, I bet you could play them this song or like any other Guilty Gear song. They'd be like, yeah, this kicks ass. Like Guilty Gear music is legit, really good metal music.
Like you're bound to find something that sticks out with you
For sure.
in the game, if not in the soundtrack and the gameplay. The fact that one of Kai's supers is called Ride the Lightning. I mean, what more do you want?
Yeah. And
I want references to grunge. I want moves with names like Rusty Caged, Outshined, Even Flow, or stuff like that. Come on.
The funny thing about Guilty Gear is that, like, I don't know if this is probably still available on the wiki. Ishiwatari made a note that Soul Bad Guy's favorite band is Queen.
Oh yeah,
It's
it's well known that his favorite band is Queen, and apparently, you know how Johnny, when he does that one move where he steals something from you, and you see like an icon on the bottom of the screen. Apparently, the album cover you see when he steals from Soul is a parody of the Queen album Sheer Heart Attack.
Oh, sweet.
Oh,
really?
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah, and his name, Soul Bad Guy, is a reference to Freddie Mercury, Mr. Bad Guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it like if you live, breathe, eat music, like you gotta get into Guilty Gear. Enough said.
Yeah, it's like the JoJo. It's honestly like the JoJos of the fighting universe because there's tons of music references all over the place, and they're just as much heavy and into their aesthetics as each other. You know.
Mm-hmm. And also, the original is getting. I think did that collection just already get released on the Switch? I don't remember if it did. That has the original and plus R.
It's not out yet. I believe it's going to be out either later this month or later next month.
Okay. It'll probably be out by now by the time this episode gets up.
Yeah.
So I guess, do we have any other thoughts, any other cool things we want to say about fighting game music?
I want more of it on Spotify.
Yeah.
There's more full soundtracks on there.
The licensing is the issue, I think.
Oh yeah,
because
the
it's
licensing is probably a huge pain in the butt.
Well, because
Capcom's really good about it.
digital media isn't really that big in Japan for the most part. I mean, cell phone games are big, but like streaming music isn't really physical media is still the big thing. So that's definitely the main reason why you don't get a lot of soundtracks over here, aside from maybe on iTunes, and that's it.
I can get that. Hideki Naganuma's been really good about putting his stuff online, but he's
Heck
also
yes.
Yeah, lots
yeah,
of good Sega music on Spotify. I know they're streaming stuff.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they're really good about that. I think it's also because with respect to Naganuma, he's collaborated and remixed a lot of actual like artists like the Latch Brothers. But yeah, that's definitely a point against putting those online that I didn't think of before. The fact that they're not as big on digital media outside of games in Japan, which is it's like that's good on them. I think that's a good philosophy to have because I think that we're looking at a lot of rights problems coming up soon and ownership issues. That's really the big thing. You already
Yeah.
have Nintendo has a history of like taking down fan projects and a bunch of emulation sites got hit really hard.
Yep.
That kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think that I get their philosophy, but at the same time, ironically, it ends up less content being accessible to us.
Yeah. Which is kind of sad.
Unfortunate, for sure.
Okay, we got to end on a happy note.
Yeah, true.
even if we don't have the time to play it, if you could have played one more song today, like tell for the listeners to actually go check out themselves on YouTube, what would it have been? Let's go in order. Travis, Tony, then Prince, then me.
Okay.
Oh boy, one more fighting game song that I didn't think of. Oh, you know what I would have done?
What?
I would do Terrace from Virtua Fighter 5 Final Showdown, which is
Oh.
Yeah, that song ripped.
Yeah.
Nice.
Mhm.
Yeah.
How about you, Tony?
I take all three variations of the character select theme from Capcom versus SNK 2.
Heck
Nice.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or really all two. Because the announcer does two different bits of announcing over the theme, just depending on when you play.
This
Yeah.
is. As for me, I was gonna say Nile again, but then I remembered my whole thing about having not too many series represented. And I love Nile, but this track I think is up there as one of the best fighting game tracks ever. The Hall of Fate from Tekken 5.
Resurrection. The
Yeah,
Resurrection variety.
Yeah, the Resurrection version is incredible. I heard it funnily enough, I first heard it in I think it was Akuma versus Scorpion
Versus
or
Scorpion, the old Flash from Newgrounds. I know exactly what you're talking about.
I first heard that. I saw that as like a 13-year-old boy, and my mind was destroyed. The music was giving me chills. The animation was great, but like that is such a powerful track to me.
I heard it by
absolutely love it.
complete accident, maybe 5 years after I saw that Flash video, and it blew my mind because I had no idea it came from Tekken.
Oh yeah. Oh my god, I felt like I was gonna be put in a coma how many chills that song gives me.
For me, I know I said that there was like a saturation of Capcom music, but I kind of really wanted to share Cody's theme from Street Fighter V because for 2 weeks straight, I could listen to nothing but that after I first heard it. It's like some of the best instrumental hip hop I think I've ever heard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Makes me wish Jay Dilla was still alive so that Capcom could have asked him to do the music.
Oh goodness, yes.
J Dilla's good as hell, yeah.
All right, R.I.P. Dilla, R.I.P. Like, why are all the great musicians gone, but Gene Simmons is still alive and kicking? That guy needs to shut up.
You might as well just ripped out my soul the day I heard Nujabe's died. Ooh.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We
Okay,
have,
let's end before we do it too many sad notes.
Okay.
This has been 614 Punch. Thank you for listening, everyone, and we will see you next time.
Later.
Peace, love, and hair grease.